Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today. I am going to paint a Canada goose. Now, you might ask, what does this have to do with America's 250th birthday? Well, nothing. Other than I needed to paint this little guy before he decided to fly away this month. Pretty soon he'll be ready to start flying. I don't know exactly when they actually fly, but I imagine they're going to leave as soon as possible. And I'll talk a little bit about that while I'm painting, but I wanted to capture him in watercolor before that happens. So if you looked at my painting a month ago, 14 weeks ago, you would have seen a mom, a dad, and 3 little babies. I am so sad to share that we have a mom and a dad, but only one little baby left. I know, all of my nature lovers, it's been hard, but this little guy is still here, or girl, I don't know yet. I have no idea how to tell, honestly. He's still here. And this was just a really bad area to have the babies. And I really hope the parents have figured that out. They are fine. They're still with us. So that's good news, right? We'll take it. I think part of loving nature the way I do, you have to take the reality of there's some bad with it, right? There's the downside, the reality of, they have predators. Opossums get hit by cars. Deer get hit by cars. Things happen. I don't like it, but it's a reality. I remember when one of my daughters hit a squirrel. She was devastated, just devastated. And it was hard to hear her pain and then to explain the reality of this is life. Yes, these are God's creatures, but all we can do is our best to make sure that, we drive safely and that we do our best not to poison the water sources that they're in and things like that, and make our best effort. So before I get too sad and all that, and you guys all stop watching, let me share with you what I'm doing. I am using, so right now I'm going to pick up some titanium white from Daniel Smith, and I'm going to add just a touch of indigo to tone it down or up, and add that to his head, feather that out because his head is much lighter still. I used burnt umber for the wing area. This has more indigo, and then I added a touch of burnt sienna in the wash as well. And then for his beak, I'll use more burnt umber and indigo in the mix. I love that his adult feathers are coming in. He's such a big boy or girl right now. So we're going to make sure that those are accentuated with some deeper shadows and paint. He is sitting in the grass. This made me so happy, even though this little family has seen tragedy. Mom and Dad still bring him here, and he's clearly comfortable enough to sit in my grass and enjoy a little snack. At first, when they were coming over, the little chicks were eating just the seed heads of the Bermuda coming in, which I thought was funny, because they would pull so hard and do their best to yank it up and try not to fall back. Went over a little bit on that one. That's okay. Who said you have to color in the lines, right? But it was comical at times. Adding a little Hansa yellow just to highlight up here. He's not yellow, but it will blend in with everything. Give that a feather. But now they're eating my grass. Like the grown-ups and the baby are yanking up entire root systems of my grass. I'm going to be okay with it because they're not going to be here much longer. So back to what I think happened to this little guy's siblings. I think nature just did what nature is supposed to do. This mom and dad, unfortunately, decided to have their chicks in a pond locally, and that pond is filled with snapping turtles. I don't know where the turtles came from. We have turtles, and I think those turtles had the babies to feed themselves. I do, because they were in that pond and they're easy targets, and the parents would have no way to protect them, because they can't fly and they aren't strong enough in water to defend them. It's an unfortunate thing, but it happens, and I have to think, like, well, those turtles probably had babies too. We don't want to really justify it that way, but it's the way it is. So this little guy's big enough now. He's about the size of a cat. He's pretty big, and I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to make it. And then I think in hindsight, the parents are never going to rest to have their clutch here. That was maybe it was timing, maybe they didn't plan on it. This is the first time I've ever seen Canada geese have a family here. So I think it was just, maybe mom's like, it's coming, it's coming. Pull over. I don't know how that works. Sorry. Just imagine. You can't like hold an egg. 3 eggs. Sorry. You can't hold 3 eggs, right? I couldn't hold a baby. How could you hold 3 eggs? Okay. Anyways, so I don't think, hopefully, nature will do what nature does, and they'll learn from that and not ever come back here to have their family in the future. I'll be sad because I've enjoyed seeing them. I really have. And I've enjoyed painting them as well. So thank you for letting me share that story and the update. bring up a little bit of paint here. But I was so happy that he stopped by. He felt safe. I think it's a false sense of security in my yard because there are still cats. The hawk has been hunting lately. I can hear her outside almost every day. She probably has a nest full of babies as well. So it's not safe, but the parents, the video that I'm showing right here, they are very, very alert, which is good. And I think they're probably more so since the loss of the other babies. I am going to be very, very careful because I want to leave one little spot. This is where it's so difficult for my hand. As I shake, but I will do my best and leave it right there. So if I go any further, I'll lose that spot. Yeah. And I'm going to just pop in some more shadow here. I hope you're always encouraged to pick up a paintbrush and try painting. It is so relaxing, and it doesn't have to be geese. It really doesn't. You can take this same technique and apply it to almost anything. I think for me, what captured my fascination was being able to capture light. Now that I'm still working on. That is, when people can do that and maintain the vividness, that's just beautiful. Okay, I'm going to just bring that shadow in here. There's this crease, right, on his neck. I'm going to leave that. Make sure it comes down here. Okay. And then build up now that his eyeball's dry. I really don't want to mess that up. I think I'll fill that in. I kind of like that white. And I have this beautiful video of this cute little goose or gosling. Is he a goose or a gosling at this point? I think I'm going to leave that the way it is. He doesn't really have white behind him. But I love that his little grown-up markings are coming in. Isn't that adorable? Now, technically, I could be using what they call a spotter brush to get this. Ugh. If you have one, use it. That would be better. But I'm gonna go, oh, really slow. Okay, leave it. Leave it. And then here for his snout thing, I'm going to bring in a shadow. Just like that. Okay. I think we're going to call that Gosling. I was going to say cooked, but I don't eat goose. I don't. I do want to give him a place to sit so he's not just a floating goose. You could stop right here and call it a day, but because this is my journal, I want to make sure that I see that he is sitting in grass, in my backyard, because he was comfortable and felt safe. That is important to me. So I'm just going to use some sap green. I'll probably add a little bit of hooker's green because my grass was very, very bright. And I think I'll actually start with a little touch of watercolor pencils. I don't know. I don't typically use these, but I mean, why not, right? That is what a journal is all about. It's trying different techniques, different styles, just to see. Because grass, while it's vividly green, it's not all the same color. And pencils can make very different marks. Well, if you try really hard, can make different marks than a brush could. And I can come back in with my brush and wet this, which is going to be fun. So stand by and kind of bring this color to life. You could leave it, you really could, but I think I'm going to do both. So in my video, he's clearly in the grass, and I could come up here. I think I'll bring the green up to show that he's like buried in the grass. That was the part that I loved about this video in this moment, that he allowed me to record. And I say allow, like, if you're watching the video while I'm doing this, I know it's hard to do both, but go back and review it. Dad's standing right there the whole time. I am in my house. I saw them coming up, which they do about the same time every evening after it cools off. And I didn't want to scare them away and let them have their privacy. And I crouched down, which was really hard to do. But I sacrificed for the geese and crouched down a little bit behind the wall and stuck my camera out in the door of the window. The window of the door. Yes, that. So they couldn't see my body, but they saw my camera for sure. And I think that gave them the comfort that they needed. So this little guy is just sitting here in the midst of this grass, just brought such joy. So if I add a little bit of water and activate it, it's pigment. Oh, look at that. That's so cool. I don't have to get it completely wet, just a little bit here and there, just to bring that pigment alive. Make sure you're changing the stroke of your brush, because grass is not ruly, doesn't follow one way or the other, it does its own thing. But I think I might come in with a, depending on what this does, you know, you can leave it depending on how much time you have, or you can add more. This is your thing. But for me, this is important to show that he was just resting. It was so cute that he was just nibbling around him. I think he was tired. I think it was probably hot. But I was saying that Mom and Dad were right there. I mentioned in the first video where I painted the whole family, when all 5 of them were here, that one was always alert while the other parent ate, which I felt was it's certainly a safety measure for geese, but I don't ever notice any other wildlife that does that. I mean, maybe they do, and I've just never really been aware, but you certainly notice it with geese. There could be a flock of 10. A friend of mine showed me a video of her flock of geese in one of her neighborhood parks, and I don't know, there were 12, and sure enough, everybody's eating, but there's one watching. And I guess they make their alert call when they see something. That may also explain why I have seen the family come by a little less often. You'll see in this video, Dad comes first. I can tell it's Dad because Mom has a kink in her neck. She'll come next. I did notice Dad try to catch some bugs mid-air successfully. And I was wondering, like, oh no, the baby's gone, but wait for it. I'm not laughing at their fear, I promise, but I was, for a moment, there was a moment of dread that the final baby was gone, and my heart just sunk, just for a moment, while I was waiting for somebody to come around the corner, because they never leave their babies alone for that long. But what probably happened is Dad squawked and said, "Get over here." And he did, and that just brought such joy. And each time I watch it, I just find more joy. So I decided to add a little bit of Cascade Green in the back. It's such a great color for natural environments, not only grass, trees, but also water. I use it for a lot of different washes, especially if I wanted it to be just a muted background, because it's a granulated pigment, and I love this color. And you'll see that I use it a lot in my paintings. But I did look up the pigments on the tube that I have, and some of them I'll be able to pronounce, some of them I won't, so I'll do my best. But the pigments in Cascade Green, if you want to make it on your own at home, you can add raw sienna. The next one is PBR7 or phthalo blue. Also, Fada cyanine. That doesn't sound good. PB15. And throw in some gum Arabic solution for good measure. If you don't have that at home, you can go to Daniel Smith and purchase Cascade Green and try it out. You can also get it in a set. They have the granulated sets. I think it's a green set with a lot of different options for their green granulating colors. And I've seen them in the dots as well, so you can give that a go, and you can get a whole sheet of a bunch of colors for $10. So see if that works for you. A little bit by his neck. I'm going to come in with a little bit thicker pigment, not too much, just a heavier wash of the Cascade Green, and come behind and separate some of these. Look at that. Oh, so beautiful. This is where my broken brush, I say broken, it's not broken, it's just bent. That's okay. It's working right now. It helps me with some of these curves. And then I'm going to come in with a touch of Perylene. I think I'm saying that right. Honestly, you know, I think so. Just do a little bit less of that. Give it some shadow. I might even give him a little bit of shadow. What do you think? Right under here. I probably need a bigger brush. When you're working in a bigger section, meaning not when you want a bigger effect, you want a thicker brush. Now that one's just bent. I just didn't let it dry the right way. Okay. So I'm just going to get a lighter wash of the Perylene Green because Perylene Green is very dark. So I just want to be very, 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 very light with my hand. And this, remember I talked about you don't have to paint quickly when I was doing the Black-Eyed Susans the other day. This is where you kind of want to just go whoosh. So let me see if I can explain that. Hold on. Okay, this is just cardboard paper. Just want to show you, I'm using the side of my brush. I'm going to start with the tip and go like that. I might come in this way. That is about how I want it to look. So I don't want it to be a heavy hand, although now that I don't have pigment, that worked. Not a good example. But you get the idea. I'm also tapping a lot of that water off my brush so I can not leave a pool of water. So I think this angle down, press. This is not a heavy hand. That's about kind of like a boat. That's the effect I want. Okay, see if I can mimic that. Again, let's see, I'm going to go this way. The camera is kind of in the way. I'm going to move it just a tad. And because I'm not, hang on 2 seconds. Okay, let's give this a go. So I'm not really ambidextrous or anything, so I have to make sure I turn everything so I don't little bit thicker. I think that's good. I bring it up a little bit further. There we go. Good? Yes. Sometimes I want to keep going, but you have to tell yourself, like, stop. Just, it's good. Stop. He's good. Happy little duck resting in the grass. Safe and sound. And let's hope that his parents never, ever, ever, ever lay eggs in my neighborhood again. I can't save them all. I want to. But in the end, I have one beautiful goose that he might come back. Now that's a problem that we will have to deal with at another time. And I think I might shoo him away if I see them land in the spring. I'll be a little bit more proactive. We have a huge lake down the street from us that is much more suited for wildlife, and hopefully that'll be where they decide to go. I think this is just poor planning on the parents' part, but this little guy made it, and hopefully he'll learn from his experience that this is not the best place to grow up, but he was safe here, and if he wants to come back and eat my grass anytime, he can. Be happy to have him. And I hope you guys have enjoyed his story and have learned a few things about Canada geese. By the way, it is Canada geese, much to my chagrin of wanting to say Canadian geese. My father has corrected me quite a few times, so we'll say Canada geese. And this little guy has been such a pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed painting him with me, and I hope you learned a few things about different techniques and to be okay with taking your time and looking for different ways to paint and using different tools too. We used the watercolor pencils. Those were a different touch than I normally use in my paintings, and it has a different effect. And I also could have gone all the way up with the grass as it is in the videos, but I chose not to, because sometimes while I love the look of him buried in the grass, I also think that this was enough, that he is in the grass, he's laying down, he's resting. And that was one of my goals today, was to capture his likeness. And at the same time, I also wanted to remember that he was safe here, or he felt safe in my backyard. And that was more important than making sure I got every blade of grass right, in the right direction. That was secondary. For me, my journal tells a story, and each page that I paint explains something that's happened in my life, something I saw, something that I came across, and the way I capture it will be what I remember. It's like a photograph. So that was important, that I captured it the way my mind's eye remembers it. I think I will come back in and add a little bit of shadow in the grass right around his body, because that looks like he's in a boat. So I might change that just because my eyes are stuck here. You want your eyes to move around your subject, but they got stuck right here. I may also change this too. And you can do that. Again, this is our sketchbook, right? This is where we kind of practice. Like if I painted him on my good paper, what would it look like? And this is where you start. So thank you for letting me kind of put him on paper and talk about the loss of his siblings and the joy of his survival. And if he decides to come back, or his parents, I will definitely make a painting. And there we go. So all I did was add a little bit more grass blades around here. I used the Cascade green, sap green, and mixed it with some perylene green in between. And I did the same for each of these sections. And that was it. I left everything else alone. And I think in honor of his siblings and his mom and dad and all of the little animals out there who fight every day, and for all of the people who struggle every day on this earth, may you find comfort knowing that our Savior knows you and loves you. And every hurt you feel, He feels. But don't give up. Just like this little guy here. Find a place to rest. Find some place that's peaceful. And surround yourself with those who love you. So I think I'm going to call this painting Survivor.